Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Ashley, Ashley, by the way, I've got to speak to you first. The players, by the way, are just warming up on court right now. But I'll speak to you first, Ashley, and just basically say, welcome again. You're back. You were also here half an hour ago, though, right?
Yeah, I set my alarm a little too early, and because I was about to take a nap, and I was like, I might be oversleeping. So I was going to set my alarm, and then you came in and told me what time it was, and I was like, dang, could take a longer nap, but it's okay.
By the way, before I come to Shrihari on his thoughts, and hello, Miles, as well, by the way. I want to just make sure that everybody keeps their cool regarding the little reel that we just saw regarding the matches of the year. I'm hoping to have many, many more. But at the moment, I've got, I think, 3 in the can. And I've got, so that's done and recorded and everything else. And I've got another one lined up on Tuesday with Gil Gross. I'll probably have another one as well done next week. So there's probably going to be many matches that you're watching that list going, that's true. But what about this match? Just chill. That's just what I've got. I can't say that we're definitely going to have these other matches until I've got the interviews cast iron guaranteed. So, but that's something to look forward to in the future, in the sort of semi-distant future for December. Let's talk about the now, Shrihari. Very quickly, let's just get your thoughts on the Djokovic match earlier. Of course, Novak has already booked his place in the final, beating Taylor Fritz 7-6, 7-6 today. So let's hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, just as I tweeted after the match, it would be his least impressive performance this week. I don't want to say worst. That's a harsh term to use, I guess, even though it is valid. But yeah, I mean, we've not had too many matches this tournament where the break of service failed to be consolidated by a player, and that happened in both sets. Djokovic up a break in the first set, squandering it immediately after with a really poor service game. Taylor Fritz breaking the opening game of the second set, was up 30-15, serving for the set, and I do remember there was an error at 30-15, there was an error, and then or I think Djokovic made a really good point, and when the error was actually, it was 30-all when Taylor Fritz had a backhand put away at the net, and somebody from the crowd just yelled, and he missed the backhand. He dumped it into the net, and he just was racking on the floor, and he was just upset about it. And then the very next point, he commits another backhand error, and Djokovic gets the break back. We go into the tiebreaker. They play this amazing rally at 5-4. And then, of course, the very next point, Djokovic comes to the net, puts away a volley. He has match point on his serve. Really loose, off-balance backhand. A lot of if his shots today, actually, it seemed like he was losing balance, which was odd to see because he's just been so solid and so powerful and consistent from the baseline this whole tournament. And it was shades of what we saw towards the end of the second, and then pretty much the whole of the third set from his match against Medvedev. Obviously, I didn't watch that match, but from what I saw in the highlights, that was the case. But just good enough and clutch enough to get the job done, and just still doesn't change my mind that he's the overwhelming favorite to win this title, regardless of who wins the semifinal.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to address something you said, I didn't watch the match at all. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to, but I did catch, funny enough, just a few moments ago, Taylor Fritz's press conference. And I think Fritz actually in defeat can be quite down, quite emotional. I think maybe all players are, but some seem to deal with it, everyone deals with it in different ways. And I did see him say that there were certain factors beyond his control, and that's really bothering him right now. And that will be that that point you just mentioned, I guess, when somebody calls out. So clearly that's quite raw for him right now, although he did say that probably in a few weeks he'll look back on his week rather positively. Miles, let's talk about tonight's match. Give me your thoughts in 30 seconds if you possibly can, because I want to get one more thought from Shrihari before we lose him. Go for it, Miles.
Sure. Honestly, these two guys' matches have been the smallest amounts of matches I've actually watched this week, except for Rublev beating Tsitsipas. I was really impressed by that. If he keeps up that momentum, he was helped by Tsitsipas, but in some ways he played some really good tennis, some of the best of the season. So if he keeps that up, I feel like he has just as much, if not enough, firepower to go against Casper Ruud. And I feel like Casper Ruud is just swinging freely right now. No one really expected him to go this deep. So if he kind of swings freely, we're in for a good match on both sides.
Yeah, brilliant, Miles. Thank you very much. I'm going to get. They have just started. Rublev is serving first, and he's gone 15-love up already. But before I come to Ashley, I'm going to get one final word from Shrihari. Give me a prediction and why.
Yesterday, my prediction was Rublev in straight sets. I had one set being close. But then I did go back and watch their match from last year, which was also a knockout match, although it was in the round robin. The winner had the chance to make the semifinal and play Medvedev in that aspect. It was 7-6 for Ruud in the decider, even though Rublev was seemingly cruising in that match. But I just think overall this season and this tournament too, aside from that match against Nadal, Ruud has not been as volatile, or he's been more steady, let's say, than Rublev has. And if he executes what he needs to perfectly, I want to give him the edge here. But maybe I was just yesterday when I made the prediction, I was just completely swayed by Rublev's performance in that deciding set. It was just unbelievable the way he was returning, especially in that penultimate game where Tsitsipas served. There were a couple of forehand return winners, when Tsitsipas had game points, and Rublev was just, he was playing. He had a purple patch, I think, in that deciding set. So maybe that influenced my prediction largely. But now I do want to say it will be Ruud in 3 sets, I think. Or at least I do want to get this out of the way. I hope Ruud wins because I am a fan of Casper Ruud, and I do want him to get into the top 3 now that he just needs to beat Rublev to do that. That being said, I also do think that he genuinely has a chance to beat Rublev.
Cool. All right. Thanks very much, Shrihari. We'll be speaking to you again very, very soon. So thanks for that, Shrihari. Rublev. Thanks, Shrihari. Yeah. Rublev has held serve, so it's 1-love. I don't know if your eyes were on that particular game, Ashley, or whether you were listening to the insight offered by Shrihari. But what are your thoughts either on that first game or the match as a whole?
Yeah, I'll start with the game and then we can move on to the match. I had my eyes kind of bounce between both Shrihari and the first game, and Rublev had served pretty well in that first game, so my eyes are on his serve, whether he can kind of ride the ebbs and flows and make sure his protect his serve pretty well. So that's what I'm looking for. He seems pretty calm right now, which is something I'm also looking for in the match. Like Shree said, Rublev can be a little bit volatile in his emotions, which could spell trouble for him in the long run. So if he can keep his emotions in check and really attack with his backhand and set up good shots with his forehand, which both sides have been very good this week, I think this could be a very interesting match. And for Casper Ruud's side, Casper Ruud, like Miles said earlier, has been swinging freely. He seems very comfortable on his serve. He hasn't really been challenged all that much on his serve. I think if he can just continue to serve well and continue to just stay steady like he's been all week, this could be a fun and interesting match. I think I'm going to go Rublev in 3. But honestly, I think this could go either way, but I'm going to stick with Rublev in 3.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What are your thoughts, Miles? Have you got a prediction for us? It's difficult,
I usually do it is. I usually do the ratio of heart to head, what my heart feels and what my head feels. My head feels like Rublev has knocked down a bunch of doors in his career to get to similar moments like these. And when he's gotten to them, he doesn't play his best tennis. So if he doesn't do that today, I wouldn't be totally surprised. However, I would like to see him do it because this would be one of the biggest finals of his career if he wins this. Whereas Casper Ruud, I was thinking while Ashley was talking about Casper Ruud, and I was kind of thinking to myself, I don't know if I know who Casper Ruud is yet as a tennis player, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm very aware of his accomplishments this season and past seasons to make him in the conversation. But even when I watch him, I'm not 100% sure how I would identify in totality his game. But I do know, in comparison to his opponent across the net, he usually, from what I've seen, keeps a much even keel. So if things do get tight in this very open matchup or very 50-50 on paper matchup, I believe, I might have to steer Casper if things get tight.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I think, 4-1, believe it or not, in favor of Rublev, the head-to-head. But I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I think any one of all the combination of results here, i.e. a straight sets win for either player or a 3-set win for either player, all of those are very much on the table. But I get what you mean. I think the more even temperament, and even just when it comes to getting to Grand Slam finals, at least, Casper has that on his resume, whereas Rublev, I don't think, has even made a semi-final at a slam as yet. That's not to say that he won't win today, although he's just put that return of serve long, so it is 1 game all. Listen, I think my thoughts on this match is I don't really know what to think. I mean, I tell you what I want to say is about something about Casper Ruud. Again, listening to what you two have said as well, I'm just responding to that. I think some people amongst the tennis community, and this is not necessarily Casper Ruud fans, but I think tennis experts, let's say, get quite upset that we don't give him enough praise. That we sort of, there you go. Look, for example, when he beat Rafa, I think when he won his first match or his second match and he qualifies, etc. They're like, look at that, you're all writing him off. I don't think people are necessarily writing him off. They're just saying that to the eye, and the eye is something important. He got to the French Open final, but he didn't have to play Tsitsipas because Tsitsipas went out early. There was one half of the draw, if you like, which was stacked with Zverev, not Djokovic, Nadal, etc. So Ruud's path opened up, if you like. And in fact, when you take Tsitsipas out of the equation, he should be getting to that slam final, if you like. So that's that. And I don't think I'm saying anything crazily controversial there, am I, Ashley?
No. See, I here's the thing. I don't think a lot of people are underestimating Ruud. I think a lot of people knew Ruud and what he brings to the table. He's a very steady player, very solid on both sides, forehand and backhand. Has a really good serve, and he's been pretty decent in the big moments. He ran into 2 informed players, Rafa and Carlos Alcaraz, for his 2 Grand Slam finals. I think a lot of people also had Ruud coming out of this group from the beginning. So I think it's a little unfair to say that people are not giving Casper Ruud enough credit. I think sometimes he can get a little bit underestimated, but like you said, the eye test is very important in tennis. And what you see is most of the times what you get out of a player, and what we've seen is a player that is really solid, really steady, but can sometimes not take advantage of the big moments like he should be, especially given his talent level that he possesses and the quality of ground strokes that he has.
Yeah, I think where the people that are suggesting that this is not somebody of the top level would suggest is that I would say that his win against Berrettini was pretty impressive in New York, especially I think it was straight sets. But that aside, there wasn't. I mean, plays Khachanov in the semifinals. I'm thinking he's going to beat Khachanov, and he does in 4 sets. I think it was. There's not been any amazing wins on the way. It's not like he's not beaten a top 3 player, and he didn't have to do so to get to either of those 2 slam finals. Oh, there's a bit of a lucky net call there for Rublev, who, by the way, what a nice guy. He does that in the apology. I mean, some players don't even bother at all. Others sort of do that. He's a nice guy, isn't he, Miles? You're on mute.
Yeah, I think they really are. Rublev just seems like a really easy guy to root for, especially because he lets you in so much on court, like in the good ways and in the bad ways, just as much as he kind of is the first person to show his hand at like how frustrated he is. He also is a player that writes for world peace on the cameras any given time he can. So he has a very multi-layered persona that he kind of gives to the public. So that makes them a little. To me, those are the kind of players that are a little bit easier to root for because I can figure them out a little bit more.
Yeah, right. What did we make of the comments from? Let's start with Tsitsipas. We spoke about it as it happened, funny enough, because Jethro in the live chat last night, after the match had finished, I joined the guys, and as Rublev holds, by the way, for 2-1. By the way, those of you watching and you're wondering what's going on, we'll constantly keep you updated. And we will get more into the match. If something crazy happens, like we get some break points or someone smashes the racket, don't worry, we'll let you know. But for now, it's on serve with Rublev leading 2-1. So, but yeah, regarding the Tsitsipas comments, we kind of got wind of it immediately because Jethro in the live chat somehow had obviously already seen the press conference that Tsitsipas had given 20 minutes after the match finished. And of course, the feeling's still raw. Tsitsipas says, I think pretty much this, said that, I think the better player didn't win today. But the biggest comment from Tsitsipas was the fact that he said something along the lines of, and the guy who won today did really well to do so when he had so few tools. Miles, what did you think about the comments? Because actually, we did laugh when we first saw them.
I mean, I saw the actual video footage of him saying it, and I laughed almost immediately after the phrase exited his mouth, because it's something very. I wouldn't put it past Tsitsipas at all to say something like that. He looks at tennis as very a creative dance, and that's almost like the antithesis. Is that the right word usage? It's the complete opposite. It's right. Yeah. Okay, good. Look at me. Pat on the back. That's the complete opposite of what Rublev is. He kind of just goes for it and doesn't really put too much glitter and glam on it, whereas Tsitsipas kind of has more of those options in his game. And I feel with the position he was in to win that match, he was a little butthurt, which I don't hate. And I feel like this way of getting it out is it might not be like a 10 out of 10 in sportsmanship, but to me, it lets me know that he really, really gives his all on the tennis court and wants to be the winner of these matches. So that level of competitiveness and a little bit of slyness in giving your opponent credit, it doesn't rub me the wrong way, but I can see how it would others. But I like it. It kind of creates tension maybe the next time they play each other. And for me, that makes me want to watch even more. And maybe they bring out the best in each other after that happens. You never know.
Were you aware, or are you aware of the comments he made, Ashley, and what did you make of it? And I don't know if you've seen Rublev's response. I thought it was quite cool, actually.
Yeah, so I was at a soccer game last night. I had to cover a soccer game right after the Rublev match, and I had caught it on Twitter while I was like scrolling through, and I had to keep myself from laughing in the press area because it was just so funny to me. Because like I expect something like that from Stefanos, because he tends to get a little like angry after matches, or especially in a match where he may feel as though he should have won that match or had opportunities to win that match, and he certainly did. And I just, like Miles said, I think it creates intrigue, it creates drama around their next match that they'll have. And Rublev's response was 10 out of 10. It was hilarious. He was like, well, he doesn't have a better backhand than me. He doesn't have a better forehand.
Is that what he said?
All along the line, he was like, I don't think he has a better backhand. I don't think he has a better forehand. I was like, Andrey. It's like, okay.
Oh, I didn't hear those parts. I just saw the video footage where he was trying to understand what in the world Tsitsipas's comment meant. And he kind of was just like, flabbergasted by the whole idea that Tsitsipas would say that. I didn't know he went into detail more further with his answer.
Yeah, it's like a whole 1 minute clip. And I was literally cracking up. I can send it to you. Hold on, I'll do that right now because I will literally forget.
Yeah, it's great. Send it to him. But you've pretty much said it spot on there. I think in addition to that, I think he also came out of it very well because he said, "Listen, he's a better player than me. He's top 3 in the world rankings. I'm here. He's been in a slam final. I haven't. But we've had some really close battles, some really close matches. I think it's maybe 4-2 in the head-to-head, but it's not crazily one-sided, put it that way. All all good really as far as I was concerned from Rublev's response. And by the way, I think some people as Ruud just puts a good easy forehand into the net, so Rublev is getting back into this service game right now. It's 40-30 on the Ruud serve. Vanch is having some sound issues, but the rest of or certainly in Europe, I should say, Vanch, I tuned into YouTube and the volume sounded okay, and we've not hemorrhaged any viewers yet, unless Stefanos Tsitsipas' father is trying to silence us. I think we're okay. But no, I just thought Rublev's response was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a funny response. Did better than I would have, because I would have been like, what do you mean? What do you mean the few players? So yeah.
There was a translation issue at first as well.
Yeah.
It was so it's now deuce on the Ruud serve, by the way. So I may give us some commentary all of a sudden. If I suddenly cut either of you off at some point, that's very funny, Shuri. If I suddenly cut you off, it's because there's a sensational point happening or a break point. But yeah, no, I just thought it was very funny. And listen, I don't have a huge problem with what Tsitsipas said. I know some people might, as Ruud gets an ace and he's now at game point to make it 2-2. I don't have. I know some people do, but listen, you're annoyed. You're probably, in fact, you're definitely wrong in what you're saying. But you know, you lose a match. You've maybe had a disappointing year, although others would argue otherwise. But you're certainly disappointed not to get to the semifinals of that group. I would suggest having beaten Medvedev, which I think was a big match for him, as Ruud does just make it 2-2. So it's now 2-2 with no break points or rackets thus far. But no, I just thought it was quite amusing, really, and I love some of the memes. I think they're called memes. Is it 15 seconds of video footage? Is that a meme, or is a meme got to be a picture?
It can be either or.
I think at this point it's either or.
there's a I think it's Temple of Doom. What's that movie series called with Harrison Ford, Temple of Doom, and all that stuff? Anyways, one of these cowboys. Which one?
Indiana Jones. Am I
Indiana Jones? I think. I'm pretty sure it's Indiana Jones scene. I saw Jethro like this post anyway, and it was like, this dude is Tsitsipas, and there's some dude go and all this doing some sort of amazing dance with a knife and like that, and then Indiana Jones just get a gun out and just shoots him, and that was Rublev, and it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. Because it's like Tsitsipas, backhand, forehand, boom, and then just Rublev just
boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Thank you, Shahuri. Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first movie. Okay, anyway, we're at 2-2 here. Nothing spectacular happening so far, despite neither player being that well known for having the biggest serves in the world. It is looking fairly comfortable for both players, as it so often has this week. Any thoughts on the Rublev or Ruud serve, Ashley?
In general, or just over the week?
Both.
Okay, I will start.
Or neither. If you've got no thoughts, Ashley, we're okay for no thoughts.
No,
I'm on the beer, by the way. This is a first for Talking Tennis, not my life, I hasten to add. That would be a huge risk if I'd never had beer in my life and I decided to do it live on YouTube. But yeah, it's very unusual because, you know, I'm on YouTube probably 4 or 5 times a week, but I've managed thus far until now, just over 3 months in, to avoid drinking beer. But this is a first. Anyway, Ashley, what were we going to say about serve?
Well, I gotta remember. I lost my train of thought. Yes. So about Ruud serve, we'll start with the week, and then I'll just say in general. This week he's actually done really well on serve. He's made a lot of good, like a lot of his first serves in, and won those points. I think the biggest issue for him has been second serve at times, where he doesn't like get a really good first serve in or an ace in. It could get a little bit hairy. But he's done a good job when he gets in trouble. Serving his way out of trouble, and I think that's probably one of my favorite trends to see out of Casper Ruud this week, serving his way out of trouble. He hasn't been in too much trouble, but when he has gotten into trouble, he served his way out of it. And then just in general, I think Casper has a pretty solid serve. I think his placement's pretty good. He can move it around. He knows what serve works here and there, so he has like a lot of strategy behind it. But yeah, I think Ruud serve in general is pretty good serve. I think
It's
this
a quick
week,
action too. Like it's kind of
yes,
hard to read. I've seen a lot of players like
yes,
and read it, but it also is hard to read at the same time.
yes.
Everybody, hold your thoughts, horses, and anything else that can be fit that phrase, because we have our first break point of the match. It's 2-all. Casper Ruud has the break point, so it's him who's threatening to break the Rublev serve. I will talk us through this point as Rublev gets his first serve in, which of course is vital, although pretty much we're looking at a neutral situation in the rally, albeit that Ruud is comfortably on his forehand, which is obviously his preference. And Rublev dumps a backhand into the net, and Ruud has broken. I probably was not quite right when I said it was at neutral, because although the rally would be a neutral rally if it was maybe Djokovic on the backhand and somebody else and Rafa on the forehand maybe, or something like that. But this was a neutral rally where Ruud was on his forehand and Rublev was on his backhand. So I guess in hindsight, the eventuality happening. By the way, another breaking news. So just quickly, I'll say that Ruud has broken because Rublev dumped a backhand into the net. But our producer has found and is about to share with us the clip of Stefanos Tsitsipas fighting against Rublev from last night.
That's iconic. Like
it's good, isn't it? It's good, isn't it, Miles?
Iconic.
The walk off afterwards is pretty great too. Just like, okay, whatever, that was easy.
By the way, Shrihari, if you can for the next changeover, find this clip that I was trying to share. I think it was 2 days ago, but I'm not quite as good at all this sharing stuff as Shrihari is. It was The Office, the tennis channel. If you don't know it, Shrihari, well, it looks like from your visual reaction, Shrihari goes like this. He goes, ah. So I'm assuming that means he knows. And so maybe write to me in the private chat. But anyway, whatever. I'll send it to you at some point if not. But yeah, it's very funny. But listen, back to that. Very funny. What is not funny, though, for Andrey Rublev and his fans is the fact that he's actually a breakdown now. And we've seen a little bit of temper there from Andrey Rublev. Exactly what you were talking about, Miles. Let's talk about the break of serve, but also that little moment, that little flashpoint as he whacks a ball into the net in anger. Miles.
I haven't seen that quite yet because my stream doesn't like me quite as much as your stream likes you today. But
you saw the break of serve, right? And you saw how that panned out.
Yes, it's interesting that you said a neutral rally because I look at both of these players as players. Okay, now I see the frustration. Yeah, usually you don't get frustration in the very first point of the game, but you can tell that break at the last changeover, before the last changeover, it just really irks them to him. But I feel like they're both pretty good at staying neutral in rallies in their own rights, which is why I feel like we haven't had too much fuss on serve because they're both players I would put in the category of a little bit better than average in almost everything. And those players typically do go far in their careers and lift trophies and put themselves in predicaments like this. But when they come together and play each other, it's always interesting to see who comes out of that battle of players that, by my eye, and just from me watching, don't have any one spectacular shot. Yeah, you could lean towards both of their forehands because they have a little bit more explosiveness on them. But I feel like a lot of people have explosive forehands on the tour, on the ATP tour right now. But in general, they can definitely keep a ball in the court for a very long time, as we saw from Casper Ruud a couple months ago at the U.S. Open semis. Didn't he have like a 54-shot rally or something against Pachinov? And Rublev can definitely stay in a longer rally.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So,
the funny thing about that rally, Miles, is that I mean, I was very lucky. I was in the stadium for that. I know both of you attended the U.S. Open this year as well. But I remember watching that rally, and I just always thought Casper Ruud was going to win it. It wasn't like, Ruud was pushing Khachanov around the court, blah, blah, blah. It was just a feeling that Khachanov is going to break down, or Rublev is just going to be solid enough?
Ruud he's technically very sound. Like there's nothing on his forehand or backhand that gives off the impression that it's just going to completely break down from what I've watched of him this season. So that does make more sense, especially if you're on the other side of the net against Khachanov, and just the windup of his forehand would give somebody that is more technically sound or is looking for that in a player that would kind of give them pause just by his windup and grip. So I get that.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I don't think Casper Ruud's grip is all that extreme. He just gets really good topspin on it. It's like semi-Western-ish.
Yep, he does. Ashley, it's been a little while. I think you haven't spoken since the break, actually. So what are your thoughts on the match and where we're at right now?
Yeah, I was just letting you guys enjoy the video and talk about Casper Ruud. I like to sit back and observe for a little bit. But yeah, that break was very much trademark Rublev. Too many errors at the wrong time. Not surprised that he was upset about that game because I guess he kind of gave it away. He had a little bit of advantages throughout the game. So I think he kind of gave that game away. But yeah, I think this match is kind of going exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought Ruud would be the more steady player to begin with. And, Rublev tends to have those emotional up and downs right now. And you can just see that Casper's noticing it and he's just going about his business like I kind of expected. So I think Rublev needs to do a better job protecting his serve. I think his second serve is a liability once again. So if we can bump that second serve win percentage up a little bit, I think it will help him out a lot. But right now, Casper Ruud is just serving well. He's not really, outside of like a couple hiccups in the earlier games, not too bad of a hiccups. He hasn't really been pressured that much on serve. He's just kind of cruising his way through. So, which is kind of how I saw it starting out in the beginning.
And Rublev is juice on his serve as well. I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the point before deuce, and I was thinking, oh, well, Rublev looks like he's in a position to stop some of the bleeding if he holds here, but now he's at deuce, fighting for his life again.
And
not fighting for his life.
I hope I don't say anything too bad and don't spoil it too much, but it's going to get worse in a second because I now have Ruud at break point after a horrible forehand from Rublev. And a double break, and you'd think this set would be done. Rublev doing what
sometimes. Like it's so weird because to me his strokes are compact, but it's so strange to see him just spray the ball completely sometimes, like he's doing right now.
Right now, they're sort of doing backhand to backhand in the middle of this very important rally because it's oh dearie me. Oh, dearie me. Well, you can guess. We're getting so many gesticulations from Rublev and so much talking to himself that it's almost as if he's doing a parody of himself. We all talk about the Rublev meltdowns, if you like, but he's actually, he's very much on brand this evening regarding those meltdowns. Put it that way. He's not holding back. It's not like somebody said to him before he went on court, listen, mate, we have noticed over the last couple of years that you do beat yourself up a lot. Maybe tone it down. I think it was the other way around. Maybe somebody said, go on, give us that, because that's exactly what the audience want. Because honestly, some of the errors and the reactions to them, I mean, as you said, Miles, so by the way, it's a double break and 5-2. But as you said, Miles, the way he reacted, just losing the first point of a game on his opponent's serve, it's quite telling.
Yeah, he just doesn't really keep a lid on it the way most professional tennis players, I think, typically learn to do as they matriculate through the game from juniors to seniors and then more on into the game. It's interesting. It's part of the reason why I don't mind watching him, because outside of that, he doesn't really have, to me, a super visually appealing game, but that more so of what he brings to the court makes him just that much more interesting to me. But I do wish sometimes he would reel it back. Like, I don't think anything is wrong with having the outburst, but the outbursts we've seen time and time again just completely derail the plan he may have had going into the game or into the match. It just derails him instead of gives him like a fresh start. So I wish he had a more of an idea of, I'm just going to get this out in this moment and then go to the next game or to the next point. But it just kind of festers, and then he's chewing on something, and then we're either all entertained or feeling bad for him because he doesn't win a game for the next 10 minutes.
Ruud now serving for the set with a double break. We've seen double breaks squandered in the history of tennis on many occasions, but Rublev is making sure that won't be today because he's just put a forehand wide. And it was a bizarre miss as well. In fact, that's the other thing. Some of the misses from Rublev in the last couple of games have been a bit unusual. It's not like he's just missing by a couple of centimeters. They're going pretty far out. So even if Rublev is if Ruud is a bit anxious, that's a weird shot as well. It doesn't matter because his opponent is helping him get over the line. That's a decent backhand from Rublev, but Ruud is now 30 love up on his serve, so he's 2 points away from winning this set. Rublev, by the way, needs to get it back together. The last 18 points, Casper Ruud has won 15 of those.
Did they show on your coverage anything that he did on the changeover? Because the Tennis Channel coverage I showed, he was very volatile towards himself. And maybe I'm shocked because I haven't watched a lot of him this week or just in the past couple of weeks, but he like punched the chair, slapped his knee, like just very all over the place. Kind of feels like a kid.
He tends to, harm himself in ways when he gets angry that are like, not good for him. So that does not surprise me that he hit himself after. It's the twice that you added on for me. But it doesn't surprise me that he sat there and started hitting himself. It's kind of jarring sometimes. It's I think it's a little unnecessary. Like, you can be upset, but it's definitely very jarring to see a player like smack himself upside the head with his racket. Like,
it makes you uncomfortable.
Sorry, Miles. I'll come to you in a second. Casper Ruud seals the set 6-2 with an ace. Go, Miles.
That serve, those last two serves to end the game are really, really good. He kind of flexed his muscle a little bit because he knew that he was the steadier player of the two in that set, and he looks well on his way to kind of, put the pedal on the metal and definitely try to get an early break in the second, especially if Rublev's going to stir in his mind like this and continue punching his seat and his knee and things of that nature. So kind of Casper Ruud doing what he does.
The producer, I think, is just getting up this little clip from the Tennis Channel that I mentioned, showing us some. I think he's just having a little play around with it now. As soon as you're ready with that, Shahiri, we'll switch to that. But I mean, that set seemed to be over pretty well. 32 minutes.
As soon as the break happened, it was just like downhill.
Yeah, exactly. Done. Here we go. So just quickly, before you press play, Shrehu, just 1 second. This is very funny. This is basically it's mimicking The Office. Here we go. Very good. Tsitsipas is particularly amusing, but I also quite like the Felix.
Kind of their element.
Yeah, I like the Felix look in the mirror as well, and I don't know. Taylor Fritz looks kind of funny too. There's very amusing. It amused me anyway that I watched it about 5 times over and over again. But listen, something that Andrey Rublev won't be wanting to watch 5 times over and over again is that first set. But time to restart. Let's go. He's serving now at the beginning of the second set, hoping to get a foot back into the match. Ashley, can he do it?
I sure hope so. It will make my prediction, not as unsteady as it currently is at the moment. I did say Rublev in 3, so it could potentially go 3. But if he looked like anything like he did in the last part of that set, it's not looking too good. But I do hope Rublev kind of settles his emotions a little bit and kind of works his way into these serves, because I think he did have a 15-30 on Ruud's first service game, if I remember correctly. Like, he had 30 all. Like, he can make a little bit of a dent into the game. I just think one bad game and it just ruined his entire mental, like, it just brought his mental psyche down. So I just think staying with it and realizing that a bad game could happen and not getting too frustrated after that could help him potentially push this into a third set.
Yeah, although his start to this game and this first set hasn't been amazing. He went love 30 down on his serve, albeit he's now got it back to 15-30.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah.
Truly, I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Andrey Rublev just frustrates me sometimes, and I'm just like, dog.
Listen, Andrey Rublev actually may frustrate you, but he frustrates himself even more.
I think he has grit to get out of this, but I was in the time that Ashley was talking, I looked up just out of curiosity what either of these men's head-to-head is against Djokovic for looking at it for the final. And I'm thinking Casper Ruud might actually be the better opponent to face Djokovic, but little did I know he's never actually taken a set off of Djokovic in the 3 times they've played. And they've played it once every season since 2020. So
it's the first time for everything, Miles.
Yeah. But they also played at the tour finals here last year, and Djokovic won 7-6, 6-2. So I feel like Shrery would like me to say that you can basically just hand Novak the trophy at this point.
He would love that. He would absolutely love that. Me, however, my pick kind of flopped this morning. That was not great.
You mean Fritz?
Yes, it was not.
Did you watch the match, Ashley?
I woke up to the match results. I was very disappointed. I don't think he played. I say flop, but I don't think he played all that bad. I mean,
I have to interrupt you. I'm sorry, because the meltdown is continuing. Casper Ruud has broken serve already. And okay, I'm gonna give you the option. And I'm gonna put this to the audience, but also to you two. Did Andrey Rublev, did he go, oh well, that can happen, let's get on with the match, or did he continue with his meltdown and scream to himself? It's the latter, of course.
The ladder for 500.
Yeah, the ladder for every $1 that I own.
Did you, Miles? You watched some of the match earlier, am I right?
I did not.
Oh, sorry. I thought you did. I apologize.
No, I don't. Yeah, I kept up with the scores. I didn't watch any of the actual match. Sorry, Taylor Fritz.
Yeah, me neither. I just couldn't watch it. But it was super tight. It was great to hear from Shrewy as well, just at the beginning. Oh, dearie me. Andrey Rublev.
He's falling apart, isn't he?
Yeah, I called this the Rue semi-final, which I believe is also a dish. But anyway, I called it the Rue semi-final because obviously you've got Ruud and Rublev. But not many people thought that was interesting. And from your silence, I imagine you feel the same. Anyway, it's the forehand of Ruud. Ruud comes into the net. He's looking good here in this point, although Andrey's done pretty well on the defense. We've got a smash now from for Casper Ruud, and he doesn't falter. So, just to give an update for those of you who are listening to us but don't have access to a screen, Casper Ruud won the first set 6-2, and he's leading 1-love with a break. Even more significantly, if I'm doing my maths correctly, this is 5 games in a row for Casper Ruud. Who served first? Rublev served first, I think, actually. So it may even be 5-6 games, potentially 7 in a row for Casper Ruud.
Yeah, it's something because he hasn't won a game since it was at 4-2.
Well, exactly. No, it was worse. It was 2-1, I think. I think it was 2-1 for Andrey Rublev because he served first, hence it being 6-2 for Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud had to serve it out. So it's 7 games in a row currently, but it's close to being 8.
Yeah, it's 7 games.
Yeah.
At the moment.
I was looking at me. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. And I'll tell you what, I think this may be the worst one of them all. This is like a club shot. It's a cushion volley. It's a cushion volley, and the slow-mo just showed that his wrist isn't strong enough. And he just kicks
that was ugly. Ooh, I just saw that.
It was ugly, yeah. So Ruud now 3 game points to take a 2-love lead. And he's got it with an unreturnable there. He's got it. Well, Casper Ruud is showing no mercy to his opponent, who's in the midst of a nightmare, as it turns out.
Nice paycheck.
Yeah, well, indeed. It's 7, 8, 9 games in a row for Casper Ruud now. And I hate to think what the points is as well. I mean, I saw it was 15-3 at one point, and I'm sure it'll be pretty similar to that in terms of margin or percentage right now. Maybe somebody in the live chat can let us know. I think we're going to have Vanch on at the end of the show to get his thoughts as well on this match. And who knows, Vanch, it could be pretty soon.
I will say, like, 2 things are happening right now. Rublev is obviously having a unfortunate consistent thing in his career, a meltdown just for the entire world and his opponent to see. And Casper's not doing much against the plan of that. Like, he's keeping the ball in play, keeping really good length, and doing what he does pretty well. Like, he's not even caring about what's going on Rublev's side of the net, which I can imagine some players would get a little bit at least halfway entertained by sometimes, especially if you're winning so easily like Casper Ruud is right now. So it's not the highest quality of tennis, but interesting. See what I mean? Rublev makes it interesting.
Look at this, 24. So this is the last 30 points. 24 for Casper Ruud, 6 for Rublev.
Yeah.
By the way, Miles, yes, I did, but I was very disappointed that neither of you responded or in the audio. I was going, this is the match of the Rue between Ruud and Rublev. And I thought I was expecting you guys to go, that is great. That
was great. I mean, my facial reaction reacted to it.
I wasn't looking at you. Sorry, Miles.
John, I'm gonna be real. Listen, that thing just went right over my head. I appreciate it though. I appreciate it. It was quirky. That like you pointed out, but it was quirky.
Especially if you add Rune into the mix. Imagine if Ruud, Rublev, and Rune, are all in the top 10 or something like that. I mean, they're all in the top 15 already. So.
Triple Rue. I'm just thinking there was a funny YouTube video that went viral about 4 or 5 years ago now. It's probably might have been pre-pandemic. That's how long ago it was. And it was a dude basically watching one of these videos about cooking. Do you know the one I mean? And he's just going, I don't know what a roux is. It's really funny. Do you know that video, Miles?
It's not coming to mind, but I'm not.
It could be my poor explanation. But basically, he ends up being devastated at the way this macaroni cheese is being cooked because I think too many vegetables get involved, and he's not particularly happy. But he's very happy. Well, exactly. That's Miles. That's exactly what he did as well. And then I think someone puts white pepper in, and he goes, "White pepper? That's not a thing." Oh,
yes,
boy.
it is.
I know. But listen, I'm getting distracted because the Rublev misery continues. It's 3-love with a double break for.
Am I the only person that finds this a little entertaining? Like, yes, it's kind of tough to watch, but it would be tougher to watch if he was just very non-reactive and just kind of getting his butt whipped and not even reacting to it. That'd be like super boring. But at least if Casper hits a really good shot, Rublev's going to explode a little bit or give you something,
The thing is, though, the reason why I'm like this, Miles, I think, is because there's a point at which our frustration goes from being understandable, kind of noticeable, to then
detrimental.
awkward, if you like. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just talking about a random meltdown that someone can have in the street or an airport. That's a classic one. The airport is probably a better example. You know, the meltdown happens. Oh, they've missed their plane. You understand, but we also know that these things can happen and blah 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 blah. But once it goes beyond a certain point and people are getting their mobile phones out and putting it on YouTube, you know, it's probably the time to stop your meltdown, if you like. And by the way he just slammed the lid down on the drinks, whatever. And by the way, they've got to get their own drinks, which is kind of interesting that they're not being.
They're gonna stop inviting him to Turin if he blows up that little seat because he's been punching it and kicking it and all kind of stuff. Yeah, he's gonna have to pay them back some of his prize money, I guess.
I think in addition as well, as we mentioned before, he's such a cool guy and yeah. Listen, it's 3-love, and that's not, the thing is. With this is, you know, he could win the next 2 or 3 games. These things can happen. I'm not saying he could win this set or even get back into this match, but just take. I mean, it's now 3. As I was messing up with my maths earlier, but it is now 8 games in a row for Ruud. But get yourself on the board in this set at the very least as soon as you possibly can, albeit that Ruud is serving. And he's just gone for a 1-2, and Ruud is playing very well. Let's have a quick look at this tweet from Shuri. I just hate that Ruud's excellent performance will be completely overlooked, and everyone will only talk about how. Okay, that's fair. But it's kind of normal when there is a meltdown of this degree, if you like. If Casper Ruud won this 7-6, 7-5, and there was no histrionics, then you just go, wow, Casper Ruud did great. You know, he's won, 3 matches out of 4, I think it would be, blah, blah, blah. But you are going to be paying attention to what's going on the other side of the net if it's to this degree. Mind you, Ruud has just put an unforced error in. I'd love to see some stats in terms of unforced errors because it doesn't feel as though Casper Ruud has made too many today. It's 15
3 to 18, I believe, from what I just saw on the screen.
Wow. Well, let's praise Casper Ruud then for 3 unforced errors over the course of 11 and a bit games. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's high quality tennis and doing what you have to do to beat your opponent on the day. And obviously, Rublev is not making that too hard of a job at the moment. So tennis is one of those things, you know.
Go, Ashley.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't have anything to say. I was agreeing with Miles. It's just, Casper Ruud is just upped his level, kind of how like a lot of people expected. But 18 winners and 3 unforced errors is absolutely unreal. So I'm just going to give Casper Ruud his flowers because some people in the streets think we don't give Casper Ruud his flowers. So
I think he can afford to buy a few bunches of flowers as well, bearing in mind these paychecks that are being spoken about. I don't know why they're talking about them a lot at this tournament. Is it substantially higher at this tournament than other ones, if you like, in terms of do you get more money for winning this than you would say the Australian Open or any other majors?
You don't get more, but I do think you get way more than or a bit more. I don't know where to put my adjectives on this one, but I do think you get more than if you win like a Masters 1000. Because I believe you get a check regardless of if you win or lose 3 times and a minimum of a tournament. So pretty much everybody leaves feeling pretty good in their pockets, I think. And then the winner obviously does too, especially if they don't lose a single match. So
and Casper Ruud has just aced his opponent to take a 4-love lead now. By the way, nothing is going Rublev's way at the moment. He just went for an appeal or challenge. I always say appeal. And don't know why.
That actually sounds much more dignified.
yeah, but you know what I mean. The problem is with appeal is other meanings as well. But so Rublev just challenged a serve from Casper Ruud, and he got it wrong. And then just to make matters worse, the line judge just did a face like this when she was justified in her decision. She just went. She looked like, funny enough, thinking of The Office, she looked like Michael Scott when Michael Scott has just found out that a decision has gone his way, or Michael Scott's just got promoted or won Boss of the Year, and he just goes, told you. It's love 15 on the Rublev serve. I'm going to talk us through this game, and then I'm going to come to you, Ashley, for some thoughts. It's love 4 and love 15. Oh my goodness. It's a forehand error, and it's a pretty horrible one from Andrey Rublev. It's love 30. I don't think Casper Ruud can afford to be giving anything either. And I don't, I'm sure Casper Ruud would love to win this set 6-1 or 6-2. Honestly, sorry, Casper Ruud, would love, but I don't think you can really afford that just because. By the way, Rublev has just got another return win, so it's 15-30. You just can't afford it because these guys are too good that you never know. You give the guy a game, and you just don't know. A 5-1 over a best of 3 sets, you just don't know. So, by the way, I don't know who this message is for, but someone just saying what? Maybe that could be directed at me in my commentary. I don't know. I think this is a question from Shrihari, by the way, office US, office UK. Listen, if you'd have asked me that question a few years ago, I would have definitely gone for the office UK. But I think both in their own rights are amazing, and their own.
They're 2 different shows.
Yeah, it was originally a British show, but it's been exported left, right, and center, including Germany and Chile, and there's all sorts of versions. As Andrey Rublev does get on the board, it's 4-1. Casper Ruud, unforced error, so a backhand into the net from him. So now Rublev is off the mark. At least that's something. And
monkey off his back. Good job, Rublev.
Monkey off his back. Yeah, exactly. Ashley, I did say I was going to come to you for some thoughts. Please offer us those.
I'm just glad he got a game because it was looking really bad for Mr. Andrey Rublev right there. I mean, just error after error. It's just been snowballing. At least right now, he can stop a little bit of the bleeding right now with getting on the board. Let's see if that gives him any motivation to, maybe push Ruud and get a break, one of the breaks back. I think it's down a double break if I'm correct. But yeah, it's just, I'm glad that he got the game, but I really do hope that it just wasn't for naught. I hope he can try to get a break and, kind of push Ruud here.
Has the match been an hour yet?
Well, I'll tell you what, this live stream has been an hour, and we started about 10 minutes before the match started. Well, Ashley started about 2 hours before the match started.
Wow, you're never going to let that go, are you?
To be honest with you, Ashley, so I open up the laptop, and I apologize to the audience because we are digressing a bit here, and it's really just between us. But so I opened the laptop about, 30 minutes before, and not expecting to see anything happening, and I log in and I'm busy doing a few, and then I was like, hang on a second, here's Ashley, what's going on here? And I think I said, Ashley, you're early, and she said, yeah, it is quite early here actually, and I was like, no, I don't mean how early. We aren't starting for another half an hour.
You can tell that I've not been getting a lot of sleep recently. See, because I had like everything set out. I was like, okay, this is like my week. I planned everything out, and I was like, okay, I got to do this on Saturday. Actually, do not forget, because you will literally fall asleep and you'll be dead to the world. No one will ever know what happened to you, and you won't show up. And so I set an alarm to make sure I was here, and I was like, oh, okay, I gotta go. And quite frankly, I was early, but it's okay.
A really good passing shot on the backhand. It was kind of a half volley almost because it was on the defensive. He certainly hit the ball on the rise. A really good passing shot from Rublev that brings up an applause from Casper Ruud. You know what? I would absolutely love it if Rublev broke and got back into this set. I mean, okay, wouldn't be quite back into the set because he'd still be a breakdown. 30-15. Anyway, I would love it. I'd love it. I'm not got no particular affiliation for either player, but I would love it if Rublev was to get one break back and just give us all a thought, he might do this.
Yeah, we want to see compelling tennis. This is one of the last tournaments it is the last tournament of the year as far as the ATP schedule is concerned, outside of Davis Cup. So, I mean, if you could draw it up, nobody would really want to see a complete spanking in the semifinals of this event, So
no one wants to see that. We want entertainment. We want
unless you just hate Rublev for whatever reason, then sure, I guess.
Sure. Or like, if you hate Rublev. you're really a Casper Ruud stan. You're just living at this moment.
I think when there's a huge rivalry between the fans, say amongst the big three, for example, but I can't think outside of the big three where it would be that intense. Where you would, if you're a Casper Ruud fan, and you said, "Listen, do you want this to continue, or do you want to just have a comfortable 2 sets win?" I think you'd probably go, "Do you know what? I'm happy with just a comfortable. I don't want to crush my opponent because." I think, as I say, big three aside, where it is kind of like, oh my goodness, what have we just seen? For example, when Djokovic crushed Nadal in Australia in straight sets for the loss of 7-8 games, I think it was, and that's amazing, and you're probably really pleased with that. But it still wasn't quite, 6-love, 6-1, 6-1 territory. It wasn't that jarring, if you like. I think generally, all neutrals and even fans don't want to see meltdowns. By the way, Ruud held, so it's 5-1. Rublev is serving 15-love. Be nice if you can get a second game. I hope that doesn't sound too patronizing. The thing is, these two guys.
The match has been past an hour now, I believe.
We haven't.
We're at 56 minutes. Yikes.
Let's get to an hour.
Get to an hour.
Yeah, let's get to an hour. That's a good backhand from Rublev, setting up a nice forehand. That's a good forehand from Rublev, but it's not enough because some great defense. Oh, it's gone long from Casper Ruud, as I was just praising his defense. By the way, this is the best indication, albeit I have been drinking slowly because I've been talking so much. The best indication of how this match has been so short is beer number 1, not quite finished. Beer number 2 is still here, not been opened yet. I was thinking to myself, I might have to go off stream and get a third beer, but that's looking pretty comfortable right now.
Pretty grim hopes there.
It's not looking good.
Are you a beer person?
Absolutely not. I hate beer. The only time I actually liked beer was this. Me and my friend went to a Philadelphia Phillies game this past summer, and he got this like lemon flavored beer. And I like fruity drinks, so I like margaritas, strawberry daiquiris, all that type of stuff. So I was like, ooh, the lemon flavor in this was like pretty good. So I would drink that beer and that beer only. But if you like put a Coors Light, a Bud Light, any of that stuff in my face, I'm gonna be like, nah, fam, I can't do it. I simply can't.
What about alcohol in general?
I don't drink that much. I know that's weird coming from a college student, but like I really don't drink that much. I will say,
I believe.
Yeah, I will say,
so, Miles. Yeah, I think so.
I will say I do enjoy a good daiquiri. I do enjoy a good margarita.
Oh, Ashley, daiquiri and margarita. I see where you're at.
I am a big tequila fan. Don't like vodka. I'm known.
Ashley, a minute ago, you weren't a big alcohol fan, and then you said big tequila fan. Love it, you know.
I'm not a big drinker. I drink alcohol.
But when you do drink, you know what you like.
I know what I like. I know what I like. I know what I like, and I know what I don't like.
I used to be like you, though. I used to like not be able to take beer. I always thought of like older men. Like just kind of knocking them back. That's not a good connotation, but it was where I was at in life. And then one day I tried a Dos Equis, which is a Mexican lager, and I was like, this is not that bad. And
See, it's funny. Like I don't like beer, but I know how to shotgun a beer.
Tell you what, you've gone from teetotal to shotgunning beers down in tequilas and all sorts. By the way,
I'm known to.
I have to interrupt for 2 very important reasons, and I do apologize because this conversation is great. But Casper Ruud is serving for the match at 5-2 in this second set. In addition to that, we've got an interesting comment in the live chat. I won't put it on the live screen, but it's an interesting chat. I don't know if it's our fault that this match is so bad, but I don't know. Let us know, Petrascu. Is it our fault that this match is so bad, or are you just mad that this match is not competitive? Anyway, either way, it's great to have you on board.
I'd be pretty frustrated if I had tickets. If I had tickets to this particular match, I'd be like, well,
Maybe Petrascu
That's
has
right.
tickets for the match and they're inside the stadium and they've just decided to come on board for our commentary as well alongside it.
I
Who
feel
knows?
a little testy too. Yeah.
I did that at the US Open, Miles. I was actually on my phone. I had, I think it was for the women's final. I had Jack and I apologize, I'm missing a couple of people. But Jack and somebody else was Isabel. What?
You said Jack, and then I followed up with Coke, and I didn't think you were talking about an actual person.
Oh, I see. Jack Daniels and Coke. Oh, I see. No. So I was looking at my screen, and I was watching Jack and Isabel chat about the final, and I've got the final right in front of me in my own eyes. But anyway, Jack and Coke, we're on the theme of alcohol. We'll return to that theme in a very short moment. I'll talk us through this game because it's 5-2 Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud ace, by the way. Feels as though there's been a few of those today. Casper Ruud, by the way, we touched on his serve earlier, and both players. So we've just hit the hour mark, so yes, for that. 30-15 right now, Casper Ruud, 2 points away from victory. His gas tank, at least, will be full of energy, bearing in mind, I think all of his matches have been... Oh, no, he had a third set deciding tiebreaker. It's now 30-all. He had a third set deciding tiebreaker against Taylor Fritz. But that aside, they've all been straight sets, whether they were wins or losses, I think. Yeah, he beat a week ago, he beat Felix in straight sets as well. Lost to Rafa in straight sets. And looking like it's going to be straight sets at the moment. I'll talk us through this point at 30-all. And I apologize to you two because I'm slightly ahead of you. Good return of serve from Rublev. It's not enough to win the point, though. In fact, I'd say the rally is pretty neutral now. Good forehand from Rublev. Can he get a break point here? Maybe. He's in charge of this point, but good defense from Casper Ruud. Really good defense. They're now on the backhands. Good backhand winner from Andrey Rublev has a break point. I'm pretty sure it's his first of the match, which is great. I would love to see a break of serve, if only for Petrascu in the live chat, because that would maybe make her or him, I apologize, pretty happy. Because seeing a nice break of serve here for Andrey Rublev would be great. I'll just talk us through this point. By the way, I will come to you for some thoughts in a second. Ruud, by the way, has had 4 break points and converted them all. Good return from Rublev. Not enough to win the point, though. Good forehand, Rublev. Rublev in charge of this rally. He's going big for it. He's going big. And he's doing well on the big. He's coming to the net. And he's broken serve. Not only have we gone beyond an hour, we've got a break of serve for Andrey Rublev. I'm sure you two right now are just watching this point. So, listen. Ashley, have you seen the point?
It's coming up right now.
You can watch this nice little volley at the net that he's about to do. It was a fairly simple volley, but what was really cool is that he was going big, he was going aggressive, but with plenty of margin, and he won the point. Miles, you got something to say?
He's swinging again. It just looks like he's swinging with a freedom of knowing that this is like the last shot he has. This is his last match of the year. Sometimes that works in your favor, and I wish he would have kind of developed that feeling early on in the match. When you're a breakdown, sometimes it is easier to swing a little bit freer, but not when your 2 breaks down, because then you're thinking about the exit too much, So good for Rublev. I like to see him hit that forehand out like that, not out of the court, but hit out on the forehand.
Yeah, I like one of the things that I think could help Rublev, if we're talking about going into the future, is like hitting a little bit more with margin a little bit sooner, because I think that could help him really get into rallies a little bit more and really get himself into matches where he maybe won't capitulate. Sometimes I don't think he plays with enough margin. He just tries to go for broke on everything, and it just does not work. It's giving Denis Shapovalov at times. So speaking of someone who doesn't like to play with margins, so I do think if he plays a little bit more with margin, I think he could help himself out a lot. But yeah, I agree. He's swinging freely. You can tell that, when his back is against the wall, he tends to, just open up his chest and just go after everything, which I'm like, Rublev, you can do that at the start of the match. You can do that when it's 0-0. or sorry, I shouldn't say 0-0, but love. But
I know what you
well,
mean. Yeah,
Love all.
Rublev is 40 love on his serve, having
Look
just
at that.
aced as well. So he's very close to making this 5-4, which would be extremely good compared to where we were. And in fact, he has made it 5-4. Go on, Miles.
That's the interesting, or one of the more interesting things about the sport. Like any other sport, and when it's looking that grim for the opponent, you usually can just run the clock out. In this sport, you can't. You literally have to keep playing the points out, and you never know when momentum can change. And I wouldn't say it's all the way squarely with Rublev right now, but definitely he has a lot more momentum than he did 5 minutes or 6 minutes ago. So nice to see.
Yeah, right. I think it's a really interesting psychological point, actually. Something that I love about tennis. I love the point scoring system. Please, please, please never change with that. I think it was a few people. I think Moratoglu was talking about changing.
I was just about to say that.
Of course, it was more
I wouldn't be friends with him if I were you.
Yeah, come on. I mean, there are one or two things that are maybe wrong with tennis, amongst others, and the point scoring system is definitely not it. I see the arguments for 3 and 5 sets, but we'll talk about that another day. But I think it's beautiful how, you can be 40 love, you can be love 40. You can also have this deuce thing where we think of epic games. I mean, take that epic game just recently between Holger Rune and Djokovic at the end of that match. Just insane, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And I don't ever want it to change. I love the fact that you can be within a millimeter of winning the match. A net cord like I think Nadal was facing a match point against Tsitsipas last year in Barcelona, has a net cord, and 20 minutes later Nadal wins the match, and yet he's a millimeter away from losing it. And by the way, sometimes it can be 3 hours. You can have a match point, and then sometimes when it is that, you see the clock and it's like 45 minutes since that match point, 88 minutes since the match point. And yeah, listen, Casper Ruud is serving for the match. Is he going to do it, Ashley?
I think he could do it, but it depends on how he just handles the momentum swing. It's not like Miles said, it's not fully in Andrey's corner, but Andrey's getting a little bit more confidence back. So this service game depends on him. Serving well, really using that +1. That +1 has been working for him all game. So I am a fan of. I think I can see Casper Ruud coming out with it here. Just if he plays his game and sticks to what has been working for him and kind of not let the moment get too big for him. I know it's easier said than done, but I think he could get it here.
Casper Ruud's team, by the way, they all look like a bunch of Formula One drivers with sort of a baseball cap, but it's more than that. The whole appearance looks Formula One like.
Or Baywatch models, because they're all blonde.
Yeah, as Casper Ruud aces Andrey Rublev, it's 40 love.
Wow.
It's 3 match points for a place in the final. I will talk us through each of the points if he needs more than one. Let's see how it gets on. 40 love, 3 match points. Casper Ruud for a place in the ATP Tour Finals. Goes down the tee, unreturnable. Nope, it must have clipped the net. First serve. So nothing lost there in that respect. But I thought it was an unreturnable because Rublev couldn't return it, but it must have clipped the net, and it did. 40 love, first serve, Casper Ruud. Let's see if you're going to go down the tee again, or will you mix it up? He does mix it up, but actually hits the net, so it's a second serve. Let's see how this pans out. 40 love, Casper Ruud. Second serve, backhand return, backhand down the line. Winner from Casper Ruud. He does it. 6-2, 6-4. Fairly rudimentary for him. I mean, there was a little moment when he loses his serve towards the end there, and Rublev maybe threatened a fight back. I'm pleased that at least the scoreline at one point was looking like 6-2, 6 love, but that didn't materialize. And it's 6-2, 6-4. Rublev did break the run of games that I think it got to 4 plus 4. It was about 9 games in a row, I think, that Casper Ruud won. And that was the difference between winning and losing. Miles, give us some thoughts.
I like Casper Ruud's celebration there. Just really cool, just arms out to the side, like, yeah, I did it. I mean, he understood the assignment today. I'm pretty sure he knew going into this match that at any given moment, Rublev could pull the card that he ultimately pulled for most of this match, which is just to completely fall apart in the biggest moments. And not really give himself a fighting chance. And he stood steady, especially in that last game, to close it out with such domination on the serve. Just all around good performance, and did what he had to do against an opponent that gave him multiple opportunities to do so today.
Yeah. Ashley, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so my prediction was severely wrong, as we can tell. This is a very good win for Casper Ruud. Even with him getting broken to serve when he served for the match the first time, this was a very comprehensive performance from him. Very few errors, just clean tennis, which is what we're kind of seeing from Casper Ruud now, more than ever. A very steady person, a very steady player, and he just really took it to another level. Knew that there was a chance that Andrey Rublev could fall apart, and he did. Really wish that Andrey could really could have pushed Ruud a little bit more, because like we saw throughout the tournament, when he does push a player, he can produce some really spectacular tennis on both sides and bring out the best of players and bring out the best of both players on the court. But quite frankly, Casper Ruud just brought his A game from the first ball, and just kind of kept it throughout the rest of the match. And there's very little you can do about that.
Yeah, very good points there, Ashley. I can see Vanch is joining us as well. He's going to come and give us some of his thoughts on the match. I'll be bringing you in any second. Vanch, I was going to say something. Oh, I'm just about to open my second beer. So that's where we are in terms of beer o'clock. Listen, by the way, let me know, both of you two, this is to Ashley and Miles in particular, just write me a message in the private chat regarding how much time you can give us. If you can give us half an hour, hi Vanch, by the way. Hang on a second, here we go. If you can give us half an hour, that's great. If you can give us 10 minutes, that's fine. No matter what we've got. As we can see, I've got an esteemed panel. I think we've got all 5 of us in the house right now. This is also an office gif. I think I've seen that somewhere where they're all doing that. Listen, I'll ask the question. Let's do it like this. Okay, half an hour from you sounds great, Miles. I think if we have half an hour from all of us, that'll be great, because I also want to probably give a quick preview to tomorrow's final. Vanch, going to come to you immediately, because we've been talking nonstop. Vanch, what are your thoughts on that match?
Yeah, it was a phenomenal performance from Casper Ruud. You mentioned having a beer. I think Casper should definitely kick back and have a beer after that one, because that was a phenomenal job by him. I thought what really stood out to me is they were actually quite even for the first 4 or 5 games of this match. It was 2-all, 40-15 at one point. It looked like it was going to be a routine hole for Andrey Rublev, and it seemed very kind of up in the air, 50-50. And then what happens next? Rublev makes his first serve, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, this is, he's definitely got this. Casper Ruud goes on and wins the next 4 points. And on all of those 4 points, Rublev made his first serve and got no payoff from it. And what that tells me is that I actually looked back at those points, and at 40-15, there was a deep, loopy backhand return off the first serve by Casper, and he just pounded his forehand. I mean, just, heavy backhand cross-court straighting, and then a really heavy inside-out forehand, followed by another forehand to the backhand of Rublev. And I thought that was very effective, because he was able to get it really high on Rublev on these courts, which are, pretty quick and low bouncing. So, and they're taking Casper's topspin really well. And I saw some good returning as well, nice like chip forehand block returns off first serve, and then just kind of adjusting his court position and forcing Rublev to miss. And once Rublev missed in that game, and I think he had an easy forehand approach at game point, and he just missed it. And just the weight of shot from Casper, I thought, really stood out, especially on his forehand, but also his backhand. His backhand has really become a lot better, I would say, since Roland Garros and the Miami as well. The final when he reached there on hard court. I just feel like he's so confident right now, and he's swinging freely, but there seems to be a good tactical plan out there, like a lot of margin, a lot of height, and then waiting for the right ball and attacking anything short. And I think Rublev just kind of spiraled out of control again, I have to say, after he lost the first break, and once he got broken the second time in that set, it really felt like he just couldn't match the moment, unfortunately. I mean, he did a great job to get here, win those 2 matches against Medvedev and Tsitsipas, but just missing that little bit extra. And he was able to find it at the end, I thought, from 5-1 to 5-4, but it was a little bit too good too late, I would say. And I thought the last game was all class by Casper. I mean, the way he served it out with an ace and then a backhand down the line winner to finish. He really brought his best stuff. Maybe the best match I've seen him play in a best of 3 set. It's occasion all year, I would say, considering the circumstances and the tournament.
Shruhari, you were in the background throughout, obviously helping us produce this show, but also, of course, watching the match unfold. What are your thoughts on what we saw?
I have to agree with most of what, pretty much everything what Vansh said here. Amazing performance from Ruud. And yes, Rublev, it was difficult to see that capitulation from 2-all. I think it was 40-15 up in that game. And losing 8 games in a row from there is just not normal. But I mean, not to take anything away from Casper, like I tweeted. What I don't like is that large emphasis is going to be on Rublev's meltdown and his, just losing his temper throughout that match. And yes, he started to play a lot more freely. I think towards the end of that set, from love 4 down, he played some good tennis. But then again, he was just playing catch up big time right there. Like he was just trying to make it a reasonable scoreline. 6-2, 6-2 would have looked bad for a semi-final, especially considering the performances that he put out to qualify from his group. So, yeah, amazing performance from Ruud. He barely put a foot wrong. And, as we know, Ruud is someone who's generally really clutch. We don't really see that because he's not matched up or he's not beaten too many top 10 players this year and throughout his career. But then when he does get these wins and when he does have the advantage in those matches, he just does not get tight or he seldom gets tight, and you've never really seen him choke. I don't want to use that word, of course, but you've never seen that, right? Last year, he beat the same opponent 7-5 in the third set tiebreaker in the round robin. He also beat Zverev in Miami earlier this year, obviously beating Fritz 8-6 in the third set tiebreaker in the round robin stage. So he's really clutch. Do I think he has a chance against Djokovic? Absolutely not. But, I think this has been an utterly impressive tournament from him, regardless of what happens tomorrow.
Casper's just talking right now. Hang on. I've got a good thing going here in Turin. Novak tomorrow. Let's see what he's going to say. You've played 3 times. What have you learned in those matches? Good question. There we go. It's almost as good as talking tennis. He didn't say that. He didn't mention talking tennis, by the way. Even though he's human. He lost to Holger Rune. It's not like it's not like he plays every day a final. There's a lot on the line. Ranking-wise, I'm ahead of him, but I am the underdog. So, just a few quotes there. I guess it's all fairly sort of rudimentary stuff, but, he obviously has a chance. There's always 2 people in this fight. Miles, what are your thoughts on that? What has Ruud got a chance? Because I think many people will be, especially not super experts. If the casual observer will think Novak's got this. Has Ruud got a chance?
I believe he has a chance. I believe any tennis player that laces up their shoes has a chance. But realistically, although it pains me to say this, I don't see him coming out as the winner in that matchup. When they go to shake hands, I pretty much expect him to be the loser in that match tomorrow, whether it be 2 sets or 3. I think Djokovic's game matches up well to his, and if Djokovic is playing well, then it's going to take a very spectacular performance from Ruud to kind of pull that one out. So unfortunately, it looks like it's an uphill battle for Ruud, but anything is still possible.
Listen, I'll come to you in a second, Ashley. Somebody in the live chat said something about the attendance for tomorrow. I believe it's pretty much sold out anyway. I think it's been sold out for a while. I do know that they did adjust the timing of the match. I think it was originally scheduled to be 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, but because that was going to clash with the opening match of the World Cup, they moved it. I also think the first match is, I think, Qatar against Ecuador, and it's the only match tomorrow. So I don't think it'll have a huge impact. If it was Italy playing, and they're not because they didn't qualify, I think that may have had a bigger impact. But no, I don't think it'll have any impact. And I think, as I say, if it hasn't sold out, it's very close to it. Ollie Payton here, Miami final, US Open final. Yeah, I mean, this is what Ollie's saying. Ashley, have we got something to say in response to or in addition to what Ollie is saying about his hard court prowess, Casper Ruud?
I'm gonna think about this for a little bit. I think for me, I think Casper has the potentials and the tools to have an all court game. However, some of his better results have come on clay, like have come on hard courts as of recently. And I don't think if anyone's calling him a clay courter, they just simply don't watch tennis. That's my response to that. He has the tools of an all court game. I mean, he plays also well on a hard court. I mean, I think he was one of the favorites at the US Open. I can't remember correctly, or a lot of people had him as a sleeper pick. So I think a lot of people are aware of his hard court prowess is kind of my response to that.
What are your thoughts on his hard court prowess, Vanch?
Yeah, I would say the results don't lie. I mean, he's improved a lot on hard courts in general, and he's made some technical improvements in his game that I feel like set him up well for these hard courts. You know, he's improved his serve. That's like number one, the biggest improvement. He can hit all the spots now, especially on the deuce side. I find it a tough serve to actually read because he has such a low ball toss and he disguises it so well. It's tough to actually get a good read on it as a returner. So he has that going for himself. I think he's flattening out his backhand. He's definitely stepping in. He's given himself options on the return of serve as well. He used to kind of wait for it to get really low and slow, and then he would back up behind the baseline and just put a lot more air on it. I would say it's, even though he's won 9 ATP 250 clay court titles, the biggest results of his career have come on a hard court now, and you can see it in Miami and US Open and year-end championship, semifinal and final twice. I mean, that's no joke. Those are the best 8 players in the world, and he's now done it 2 years in a row. So I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I particularly loved his answer I think it was in Montreal where he made the semifinal. He was asked after he beat Felix, about the clay court, hard court thing. And he actually said something that I thought was really interesting. He said the media are too focused on whether you're a hard court player or a clay court player. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just tennis. The lines are the same. The measurements are the same. So I thought that was a quote that just stood out to me because it shows that, he knows he's getting asked about this all the time. And I love how he reacts to it.
Yeah, I agree. Shriri, what are your thoughts on the hard court, clay court debate? I think he's really put that to bed this year, hasn't he?
He really has. I mean, Grand Slam final. He's made the final of 2 of the 3 biggest events on. There are 3 of the biggest events on hard courts. So the 2 slams and the ATP finals. He's made the final in 2 of them. He didn't play the Australian Open too. So there's that. He also made the final in Miami, semi-final in Montreal. So yeah, I mean, clearly he has definitely put that to bed, and it would be asinine to sort of call him a clay court specialist. I mean, the word specialist, the term specialist, shouldn't really be something that's derogatory, but tennis Twitter has really made it seem to be derogatory. But going by that definition, again, I think that's been thoroughly debunked. At the big events on clay, I think he's made the final at RG. He's not made the final at any of the clay court masters. His best result is a semi-final, which he has made it at all of those events. But then much more impressive both wins and results on hard courts. I mean, I don't really think that's up for debate.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What are your thoughts on tomorrow's final? I don't think I got too much of you from that on that one, Shri. How do you see it playing out?
So they've played thrice before. Ruud did play a couple of close sets in their first two matches. He served for the set in their first clash in Rome in 2020, the semifinal. He had set points too. That was 7-5, 6-3, I think, or 6-2. I'm not sure. And last year, I believe, was 7-6, 6-3. He was up a break early in that first set. He did play a close set, and then Novak pretty much was too solid and too strong for him. And I also want to look at their most recent match that was, in Rome. Djokovic playing, godlike tennis for the first 4 games. And then Ruud still sort of clawed his way back, found a way, and there were some grueling rallies, but still not enough. So I think matchup-wise, it's a step too far for Ruud. Djokovic showed that he's a bit more human in his last 2 matches at this tournament. But I still think that there could be a close set. But other than that, I see Novak winning this. I cannot envision a scenario where Ruud would beat him. If Andrey Rublev made the final instead, that would be interesting. Because I could definitely have seen something like the prospect of something like 2018 repeating, where Djokovic beats Zverev in the round robin and then lost him in the final. Rublev, he has the killer instinct for sure. I don't think Ruud has that, especially against Djokovic.
Interestingly, I thought that actually, I mean, it's really not much difference, but I did think going into the match and still think now, despite being clever after the event, I did think that maybe of the two, Ruud might be a little bit trickier just because of the form over the last 6 months on a hard court. But of course, going into this, it was 2-4 for Ruud, I think, in terms of his wins to losses. So it wasn't like he was in amazing form before this tournament. But Ashley, have you got any sort of final thoughts either on either of the 2 matches today or tomorrow's final?
Yeah, I guess I'll give my thoughts on this one, and I'll go to the final. I didn't really catch while I was asleep for Djokovic, Fritz. Like I said earlier, I do wish Andrey could have pushed a little bit more. I mean, you saw it towards the end where he started to get some more games under his belt. But I do think Andrey definitely did not bring his best tennis today, and he let his emotions get the best of him. But like I said, like Casper Ruud played absolutely amazing. Whatever happened on the opposite side of the net with Rublev, that doesn't take away from the fact that Casper Ruud brought his best today and deserved the win because he was the better player today. As far as tomorrow, I would like to see Casper win. I think he's been one of the more solid players in the other group. I think he's been playing really excellent, clean tennis this past week. I would like to see him be rewarded for that tennis and come out as the victor. But I wouldn't be shocked if Djokovic wins this again. But yeah, this could be a pretty entertaining final. Both these two have probably been the best players throughout the field this week. So I'm interested to see just what level they both bring to tomorrow's match.
Yeah, and I think that was probably my thoughts as well regarding the fact that, I mentioned how pretty much the results in the last few days for me have gone Novak's way, not just Novak winning, but I was thinking Felix could, on a very good day, pose Novak a lot of problems. Felix goes out to Taylor Fritz. I also thought that perhaps Tsitsipas against Rublev, of either of those two, the one that has shown us on a hard court who could really push Novak, it is Tsitsipas on a very good day like we saw in Paris-Bercy. So those two results, I thought. I did think, though, that that perhaps of the two today, given that Novak beat him so comfortably in the round robin stage, I know what Shahiri's saying with how, sometimes you win the round robin match and then lose the final against that opponent and vice versa. But given how comfortable it was for Djokovic in that group match, I would have been shocked if Rublev would ask too many questions. They've only played each other 3 times, as also Shahiri mentioned. So there's not enough evidence to suggest that the matchup is particularly good or bad for either player. However, I do make Novak the big favorite. Miles, can you see anything other than a Djokovic win? Can Ruud make it hard for Djokovic? I thought today, by the way, Taylor Fritz's best chance of winning was to serve really well and maybe squeeze out a couple of tie breaks. Unfortunately, he got most of that bit right, but he just didn't get the tie breaks right. What can Casper Ruud do?
In my mind, I always like to see Djokovic's opponents winning the match.
Just like Shrihari.
I just had to poke fun at Shrihari, that's all. Although realistically, I think it's the odds are low. I think if he's going to have to be helped a little bit by Djokovic being a little bit off, like he kind of was in that match at the Paris Indoors final, because I watched a large portion of that match, and if he is able to do some of the things maybe that Holger Rune did, then maybe he puts himself in there with the shot and hopes that Djokovic kind of, sprays some balls in very tight moments. If he is aggressive enough and kind of creates those opportunities for himself, then sure, he gives himself a chance. But I just think going into it, how comfortable Novak is at this time of the season, at this particular tournament, even though it's not in London, he's won this particular event so many times. Casper just has a lot of cards stacked against him. And maybe he knows that going in and he just swings absolutely free. And we see one of those, jaw-dropping performances. But it's tough for me to really imagine it with what Casper Ruud has brought to the table this year. It's not been bad. I just think that what he's brought to the table, pretty much all of it, Djokovic can deal with. So we'll see what happens.
I'll get Ashley's thought on this first, and then I'll come to you, Vance. Question here from Nick. Will or can we all imagine Ruud cracking grass? Honestly, I think there's not a huge amount that suggested that he will thus far. Maybe I'm being harsh on him, but for me, I've not seen enough of Casper on grass. It's not like Alcaraz or Sinner, where, for example, both have made some progress over the last 12 months. Both are exceptionally young. Ruud is young, but he's not quite as young as those two. And there's enough in both of those players that I've seen over the last 12 months to suggest that they're making strides on that surface. I don't see the same with Casper Ruud, and therefore I think we may never see him in a Wimbledon final, for example, which is, I guess, the answer to cracking that surface. What are your thoughts, Ashley?
This is a tough question. I mean, one of the biggest things about being a successful grass player is, the serve, which I do think Casper has a great serve. I don't know if it's a good enough serve to crack grass or challenge the movers on grass. I will say the standard on being quote unquote good on grass is slowly declined. So he could possibly, not be the best, like quote unquote grass court player, but still make results on the surface. So I don't have a really good response. I'm not sure on that one. I'll have to sit on that for a little bit.
Sit on that. We'll come back to you at Wimbledon and we'll get your thoughts then. Vance, has Casper got the return? Is that the issue, or what do you think regarding him on grass?
Honestly, it's just don't think he's played a whole lot of grass court tennis throughout his whole career. I mean, haven't really recalled that many matches from his. I know he played like maybe one match at Queens this year and lost to, I think, Ryan Peniston. It was like a couple of tie breaks. A young Brit player who grows up on grass and lefty and can kind of bother Casper with with his deep return position and stuff like that. But I would say that he's, and then also him going really deep in the clay court season and going really deep at the French Open doesn't really help your chances on grass either, because now that makes the surface change, one of the toughest surface change in tennis, even harder when you have less time to adapt. But there's, like Ashley was saying, the standard is definitely lower now on grass than it was 10 years ago. I mean, you still have a lot of great players and some dangerous threats, and margins are very slim. But it's, for instance, we saw Dominic Thiem win a title on grass. He's won Stuttgart. He beat Federer once. And he's also made the fourth round at Wimbledon. So I wouldn't rule out like maybe a second week at Wimbledon, potential quarterfinal, fourth round, that kind of thing. It's hard for me to imagine him making a Wimbledon final, just the way his game is kind of built around that heavy forehand. But I mean, it is possible. The courts were really low bouncing this week, and he was able to still that forehand is so good anywhere. So, he certainly has that going for him. Somebody's saying it clashes with Ruud's golf schedule. That's funny.
Yeah. I'll come to you in a second, Miles, because I saw you nodding and thinking about this conversation. I will come to you in a second. But first of all, I want to share this tweet. I don't know if anybody knows who this guy is, but he's just tweeted this. So we better put that on the screen as well. Miles, I saw you sort of nodding in agreement to some of the comments that were being made. Elaborate.
In regards to Wimbledon and specifically Casper Ruud, and then kind of almost broader than Casper Ruud, I think the window of opportunity on grass and specifically at Wimbledon is going to be very wide in the next couple of years, just realistically thinking that Djokovic has maybe 3 or 4 more seasons, and then Nadal has maybe 2 or 3 more seasons. All of that could change in the blink of an eye. We don't know. But let's say for whatever reason, either of those 2 guys decide not to play for whatever reason, it could easily go to a lot of different people. And I just looked on the website here. Casper's only played 9 matches at ATP level or higher in his career on grass.
That's insane. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, he's in those 9 matches, he is 3-6. So I'm sure he doesn't walk onto any grass court surface with a whole bunch of confidence. But a good player and a good athlete, like Mary Carrillo says, usually good athletes win Wimbledon, and I think Casper is a good enough athlete to at least do his best to figure it out. And I think a lot of players are going to be doing that because there just hasn't been a lot of time on grass in the past couple of years. That pandemic took a huge chunk out of what people that are playing now and doing well could have experienced in that grass court season. So we shall see.
And he may also make up a few points. He didn't play the Australian Open due to injury, that many of us had forgotten about. So who knows? Every point will be something gained for him there. Shri, have you got any thoughts on anything we've just been saying?
Yeah, Miles made a point about lacking confidence. Obviously, is not the case game-wise, because I do want to use Yannick Sinner's example. I don't think he won a match on grass before the season, and he made the quarterfinal at Wimbledon, right? Of course, his game would translate a lot better. Does translate a lot better to grass than Casper Ruud's probably will, ever will, I should say. But the reason why Ruud, I mean, I think it's kind of the same case with Medvedev and Clay. They don't even like the surface. That sort of tends to create a mental block. I think that in large part has to do with why Casper Ruud is. I mean, he's also, like Vanch and Miles also pointed out, he's barely played on the surface. So I think we don't have too much of a sample size to work with here. But anything could happen. He didn't lose to a bad opponent. Hugo Humbert has won, an ATP 500 title on grass, and he's made the 4th round as well in 2019. So it's not a bad loss by any means. But yeah, I do think he can make the second week probably at best. The reason why he doesn't like grass probably has to do with the fact that he enjoys, probably having a little more time to set up his forehand, and probably that's his biggest strength. It does contradict a bit. It's contrary to what we've seen from him in Turin the last couple of years, because still, again, low bouncing hard courts, but I do think it's a tad bit different on a grass court, right? So I would say I wouldn't rule out a second week showing. At best, quarterfinal if he ends up with some journeyman or any qualifier really in the 4th round. That tends to happen a lot in Wimbledon, especially. So I do think I wouldn't rule him out completely on grass. And then again, this is a debate which I feel so frustrating because the grass season is so short. It's not the same debate that we can have with another player on clay, for example, like Daniil Medvedev on clay. So yeah, I guess.
Miles, you've got something to say, right?
About the grass court season, I do wish it was longer. That's for sure. I just think in general the tours could. The tour, both ATP and WTA, could do a better job of kind of regulating the surfaces that we're on. It shouldn't be that abrupt of a sharpness in the schedule when it comes to grass. But I mean, the players seem to be adjusting to it, and the players that do adjust are the ones that are lifting the biggest trophies on grass. And tennis is all about adjusting. So one of those things.
Vanch, I don't know if you've caught up with much of the action earlier regarding Taylor Fritz and Djokovic, and I'm just putting on the screen right now. Taylor was a bit annoyed because he had an opportunity. I think was it on set point, Sri, that he put this into the net.
It was 30-all, 5-4.
5-4,
And
so
it
2
was
points
a
away from
really
winning the set.
easy backhand put away. He had pretty much the entire court.
Yeah, have you seen that, Vanch, earlier?
I have, yeah. It was a bit unfortunate that someone had to, scream at that part of the match in the middle of the point. I think it definitely distracted him, and he expects to make that because it was a good serve and he looked to be in control of the point. And if he wins that, then he has set point. So I can imagine, right after the match, really, feeling like that was unfortunate and not really in my control, I think.
He kept his cool a bit better than Tsitsipas did. Well, Rublev too, but Tsitsipas in his post-match press conference. Let's make this a fair playing field that we're going to compare press conference to press conference after a tough defeat. But he certainly handled it better.
I do want to mention one thing, which Fritz was very magnanimous towards Novak, which should be pointed out. Yeah, he did say that. He did talk about how Djokovic did miss 2 of the 4 Grand Slams, both of them being on his favorite surface, and how if he does play, he's pretty much the favorite and most likely to win. And the fact that he hasn't played is what has led to us seeing a lot of mixed results this season. To that effect. He did say that, which was really nice to hear. But Fritz usually he's really gracious in defeat, and yes, he tends to get disappointed in press conferences, but nothing is really directed at the opponent in a disrespectful manner at all.
No, definitely not. Sorry, Miles, you were gonna. I think I asked you a question. I'm not sure. Forgot where I was now, but yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate.
I do appreciate Taylor Fritz in post-match press conferences, especially this year. A lot of them have kind of just came to the forefront, like his opinions about coaching and all different kind of things. At least he gives an opinion, and for that I respect it for sure.
Yeah, no, he's not, and he's also not dissing his opponent. I saw him, I think, probably as crestfallen as I've seen him, certainly anyway, in any press conference, was after the Wimbledon defeat. When I think he was finding it quite difficult. But then I think he was similar in New York as well, to be fair. I think he couldn't.
He lost first round, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think he couldn't quite compute either of those defeats. That's the best way I can put it, particularly the one in New York in a way. But I also saw him just devastated. Probably the Wimbledon one had a bigger effect because I was right there in the room with him at the time when he's given the comments, like half an hour after he's just lost the really tough quarterfinal. Vanch, what are your thoughts on Fritz's year?
I feel like it's been a good year considering actually, he's had some injury troubles as well, I think it was a good start for him in the beginning to make an Australian Open 4th round. He had never made the 4th round of a major. So that was already a check, next to his resume, and pushing Tsitsipas to 5 sets. He was 2 sets to 1 up, actually had chances to win that match. And, was the better player for like 4 of those sets. And then, winning Indian Wells is obviously going to be the highlight. That was spectacular for him to get to the final, I would say. And then, he also rolled his ankle before the final, and for him to basically go out and win that. And even though Nadal was obviously struggling with his with his rib at that point, but still he had to go out and get the job done, and he was very clutch when he had to do it. So I thought that was impressive. And then he made his start to the clay court season, got to the quarters of Monte Carlo, and then his foot injury flared up again, and then he had to take 2 months off and wasn't really right for the French Open. And then you mentioned Wimbledon. He also won a grass title at Eastbourne, and then, quarterfinals at Wimbledon, lost in a 5th set tiebreak. So, at that point, I thought, okay, he's going to have a really good North American hardcourt summer. But towards the beginning of the North American hardcourt summer, he was in a boot. So he kind of had this on and off injury throughout the whole year. And then, does well in Cincinnati, I think, beat Rublev, and then lost a tight match to Medvedev. And then the first round, after the US Open, he also won a title in Tokyo. So it was his first at 500 level. And then, so considering like all these parts, ebbs and flows of his season, after Indian Wells, he didn't just completely fade away. He had some good moments here and there. And some reasons why he was perhaps underperforming to that Indian Wells standard. But for him to get in as world number 9 after Alcaraz withdrew and then make the semifinals and get out of his group, I thought was really, really good showing and a very good semifinal performance as well today. 2 tie breaks, and he didn't go away after that miss at 30 all as well. It was 6 all in the second set tie break as well, and just a few points decided the winner. So I think you can be really happy about his year overall, and the improvement that he showed. I would say it really started from the October Indian Wells, getting to the semis there, and since then he's really kept building on that. And I think he's the best American player we have, and we have some good American players right now. So he'll be at the forefront.
I think the way we view so many of the players at this tournament, probably Nadal and Djokovic aside, the way we view their years, I think is really all about how they do at this tournament. That's not because I put so much emphasis on this tournament, but I just think that there's debate on Tsitsipas, to some extent Taylor, to a lesser extent maybe Felix as well, in how their years were. And I think probably Casper would be in a safe. I think if he'd have gone out first round or whatever. But I do think players like Tsitsipas and Rublev and Taylor Fritz to some extent, I do think that their year changes a bit in the way we look at it. And this could be recency bias on how they performed at this tournament. I think Taylor getting to the semi-finals, beating Rafa as well en route, I think that does put a slightly better look on his year. What do you think, Ashley, in terms of Taylor's year?
Taylor Fritz has had a pretty good year. I think winning Indian Wells is definitely the highlight of his year. I think he could have possibly had like Vance said, could have possibly had a better North American hard court swing, but the cards fall where they may. But being able to appear at the World Tour year-end championships, to have a big title like a Masters 1000, I think he's had a pretty solid year. I think he just needs to take a little bit step more, just keep working on his ground strokes, his serve, become a little bit more well-rounded in that area. And I think 2023 could be good for him, but this was not a bad year for Taylor Fritz by any stretch of the imagination.
His best year on tour.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, Miles, do you want to just add one more thing regarding Taylor, and then I'm going to come to you for predictions for tomorrow?
Oh, just in short, I think he has a lot of good things to look forward to in his career now, that I feel like he has audibly said so much that he feels like he belongs now, especially after this season in particular. We'll see kind of where his fighting spirit gets him and how far he can go into the sport.
Cool. Okay, so we've got a match tomorrow, believe it or not. And I want to get your very, very quick predictions and why. So we're going to do this in 30 seconds. I'll go with Djokovic in straight sets. Hardly the most rock and roll prediction of all time. I just think that the head-to-head between them suggests that it will be a Djokovic win. And there's been nothing really, if we think about it, during this indoor hard court swing that suggests anything other than a comfortable win for Djokovic. Shrihari, give me your 30-second prediction.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Djokovic in straight sets as well. People tend to emphasize too much on that Holger Rune loss, which is the only match Djokovic lost on the ATP tour in indoor hard courts. I mean, aside from that Laver Cup match, that's just because of the standard he set. But I do think that's a one-off, and also has to do with the matchup. And if you look at this matchup, Djokovic definitely has a massive advantage for reasons we've discussed already. So I see Djokovic winning that in straight sets and winning a record equaling 6th title at the ATP finals.
Yeah, and that Holger Rune match was super, super close and could easily have gone Djokovic's way. Ashley, give me your prediction.
Because I want to be different, I'm going to go with Djokovic in 3.
I thought you were going to go Casper Ruud.
No,
Casper Ruud for the loss of 3 games.
No, I think that Holger Rune match, like Trey said, was a one-off. But I do think Casper could possibly take a set off of him. He's been in decent form this week, so I would like to see that. But I still think this is Djokovic's match to lose. So I'm gonna go with Djokovic in 3.
Miles?
I am going to go with Casper Ruud in 3, only because why not? Why not? The last couple of champions of this tournament have been outside of the big 3. Only thing that gives me pause is the fact that Djokovic is wearing all green, and I can't remember the last time he lost in all green. That seems to be a working combination for him, but it's still I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Casper Ruud wins in 3 very tight sets.
Cool. And Vanch, you could take a bit more than 30 seconds as you came on for the post-match analysis. Take a minute if you want.
Yeah, I mean, so I do think Djokovic goes in as a favorite, and I like, but I do like Casper's chances to make this a competitive match. I think definitely he has the game to make it like 2 tight sets. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like 1 tiebreaker and 1 really competitive second set or something, in that, or you can reverse the order. But he's definitely shown that he has the game to challenge the best. So I definitely think he has a decent chance. I don't know if it will be enough to get over the line. I do also know that Djokovic has been struggling a little bit physically his last couple of matches, so he has had some shakier moments. So we'll see whether or not Ruud can actually take advantage of those. But I would still say Djokovic in straight sets. Everything kind of points to that. But I'll say 2 tight sets.
Yep. Sounds fair enough to me. Listen, I just want to say a big thank you to you all. Vanch for giving us his thoughts, obviously post-match. Ashley and Miles as well for your commentary on whether it be tequila, beer, daiquiri, or chugging beers in one, as well as obviously our thoughts on the match and how that panned out. And of course, our excellent producer, Shri, who gave us his pre and post-match thoughts, but also did a fantastic job pulling the strings, not least to show us that epic duel between Tsitsipas and Rublev at the back of some sort of cowboy inn as well. So that was great. I'm glad you brought that up for us, Shri.
Yeah, probably the highlight of the stream, considering how the match went. But
yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, like I say, we end up talking about beer and tequila and that shootout as well.
And Ruse, yeah.
And Ruse as well. Yes, can we go?
I think Rublev would also be talking about beer and tequila after that. So,
I think you might be right. Yes, indeed.
Kind of on topic anyway. So yeah.
Yes, indeed. Listen, everyone, big thank you to you all. I'm going to play us out with let's do a little promo video. But everyone, thanks very much. And I will be seeing you all again very, very soon. Which promo video? It's this one. Here we go. Oh, we're back. I wanted us to be on. I want us to be on a loop. Let me get rid of this. Don't worry, I'll fix it. Ciao, everyone.
Bye, guys.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.